Alright, so I usually do my research when it comes to long-range precision shooting, whether that's a new cartridge, whether that's a new load, whatever I'm doing, I'm trying to research to make sure I'm getting the most potential out of whatever it is that I'm doing. And recently I've been researching a new cartridge. Now, I already do a lot of shooting with the cartridges that I have, the bolt actions that I have, the 7 SAUM, the 6 Creedmoor, the 6 Creedmoor being a short action cartridge, the 7 SAUM kind of an intermediate cartridge. Designed for a short action, better in a long action. And I've been thinking about building a new rifle. You know, the 7 SAUM I use more for the competition side of things, as well as a bunch of ELR shots. And if you guys saw, I recently just did the 1.5 mile shot with that. And that's pushing it pretty far out there for the 7 SAUM. Now, I have plans to take it much further than that, and have no doubt that it's possible. But I'm wanting to do a cartridge that I can take advantage of all the available space that I have. So, as you guys have seen, even in that 1.5 mile shot, I have quite a bit of distance left over that I can still shoot. That range goes out to somewhere just past 3,200 yards, and maybe even a little further if I shoot in the exact right direction. So because of that, I want to build a rifle or possibly a switch barrel setup on my 7 SAUM here around a cartridge that I can take full advantage of all the distance that I have available to me, as well as still use it for other things. But mostly my ELR rifle. So I'm going to do this, and we're going to do a comparison. We're going to look at, there's a lot of different cartridges that fit that bill, but I have it narrowed down to one that I think is going to be my ultimate choice. And we're going to compare this cartridge, being an ELR style cartridge, to a cartridge that has become very synonymous with extreme long range shooting. That's the 338 Lapua. Because of popular culture, because of the military, because of movies and TV, the 338 Lapua has become almost a household name when it comes to long and even extreme long range shooting and its capabilities. And so because it's so well known, I want to compare that cartridge to the 300 Rum, which is the cartridge that I'm looking at to chamber my next rifle in. 300 Rum being a very capable cartridge, you're going to find that when we do this comparison, they do have quite a few similarities, and they do have some glaring differences as well. So that's what I want to do. We're going to compare the 300 Rum today to the 338 Lapua, and let's see just how they stack up. So, get into the numbers here. The parent case of both these cartridges. So the 338 Lapua Magnum, the parent case is the 416 Rigby. The 300 Rum is a parent case is a 404 Jeffries, as we've talked about in the past, because that's the same. My 7 SAUM is based off of a 300 Rum, so therefore the original parent case is the 404 Jeffries as well. Now, because these have different parent cases, there's actually one big glaring difference in these two cartridges. The 338 Lapua is a Magnum action, meaning the bolt face that it requires for the 338 Lapua is a 540 bolt face. The bolt face for the 300 Rum can be done on a 532 bolt face, so a smaller bolt face, which in turn can be done in a short action, or I'm sorry, not short, a standard long action. So a smaller action than you're going to be required for the 338 Lapua Magnum. So you're getting a lot of similarities in a standard long action with the 300 Rum. And there's also a lot of things, advantages that go to going up to that bigger action as well for the 338 Lapua. So case capacity. As we do case capacity, just like in all other things, we're doing water case capacity. So fill the case up with water, weigh the water, and that is our case capacity. So with the 338 Lapua Magnum, you're looking at 116.24 grains of water case capacity. And with the 300 Rum, you're looking at 110.2 grains of water case capacity. So 6 grains more case capacity with that 338 Lapua. The shoulder angle. The 338 Lapua has a fairly narrow shoulder angle with only a 20-degree shoulder angle, whereas the 300 Rum, as we've talked about in the past, shoulder angle means a lot in the case's performance or the cartridge's performance. The 300 Rum has a 30-degree shoulder angle. So I've talked about this before. I think there's a lot of merits to a 30-degree shoulder angle. I think it optimizes a few things, and the 300 Rum has that 30-degree shoulder angle. We talked about already the action types of these. So you're looking at the Magnum sized action for the 338 Lapua, whereas you can do a standard long action in a 300 Rum. The velocity. So when we're talking about velocity, we're doing this off published data. So we're going straight to a published data source. And with the 338 Lapua. Now all this is in a 24-inch barrel, so all this is published data from a 24-inch barrel. We're using identical powder with the Retumbo powder. So with the 338 Lapua, we're trying to also, because these are different calibers, so they have different bore sizes, we're trying to marry the ballistic coefficients as much as possible. So with the 338 Lapua, we're using the 300 grain Sierra Match King with a G7 ballistic coefficient, or I'm sorry, a G1 ballistic coefficient of 0.768. With the 300 rum, we are using a 230 grain Sierra Match King, so 30 caliber, smaller bullet, lighter, with a ballistic coefficient of 0.782. So very close, almost, I mean, right there next to each other in their ballistic coefficients. Obviously, the 338 Lapua is a larger diameter bore, so a heavier bullet. So, with the 338 Lapua, with the 300 grain Sierra Match King, with a max charge weight or max pressure charge weight of Retumbo at 86.9 grains, you're looking at 2,630 feet per second from that 24-inch barrel. Now, one of the things about 338 Lapua, you're rarely going to see somebody do a 24-inch barrel 338 Lapua, and we'll talk more about why that is here in a minute. The 300 rum with that 230 grain Sierra Match King with a 87.1 grain charge weight, so only 0.2 of a grain heavier than the max charge weight of Retumbo powder in the 300 or within the 338 Lapua. So with that 87.1 grain charge weight with that 230 Sierra Match King, you're looking at 2,840 feet per second from the 300 rum. So almost just over 200 feet per second faster with the 300 rum than you're getting from the 338 Lapua with almost identical ballistic coefficients. Now, trajectory. One of the things I want to note is you'll notice that even though the 338 Lapua is moving slower, it's going to have very similar and actually even outperform the 300 in its energy on target. So the trajectory, so and because these are geared towards ELR, we're doing our trajectory all the way out to 2,000 yards instead of just 1,000. So with the 338 Lapua Magnum at 500 yards with our 300 grain Sierra Match King at our 2,630 feet per second, you're looking at 10.25 minutes of angle at 500 yards with a 2,856 foot-pounds of energy on target. At 1,000 yards with that 338 Lapua, you're looking at 30 minutes of angle with that 300 grain Sierra Match King and 1,686 foot-pounds of energy at 1,000 yards. And then at 2,000 yards, with the muzzle velocity of 2,630 feet per second, you're looking at 101.75 minutes of angle elevation to get out to 2,000 yards at that 2,630 feet per second muzzle velocity with the 300 grain Sierra Match King. With the 300 rum at 500 yards, you're looking at 8.5 minutes of angle elevation with that 230 grain Sierra Match King at 2,840 feet per second. So just under 2 minutes of angle gain from the 300 rum at 500 yards. Now, the energy on target at the 500 yards with that 230 Match King is 2,652 foot-pounds of energy. So you're actually, even though the 338 Lapua is leaving the muzzle 200 feet per second slower, the energy on target, even out to 500 yards, is over 200 foot-pounds of energy more from the 338 Lapua. Now, at 1,000 yards, you're looking at 24.75 minutes of angle with that 230 Sierra Match King and 1,632 foot-pounds of energy, which compared to the 1,686, even at 1,000 yards, the 338 is still, even though the trajectory is much more, the energy on target is more still with the 338 Lapua. And then at 2,000 yards, you're looking at 81.5 minutes of angle from the 300 rum with the 230 Match King with the 2,840 feet per second muzzle velocity, and then 618 foot-pounds of energy. So compare that to the elevation of 81.5 compared to 101.75, you're looking at over 20 minutes of angle elevation gain from the 300 rum, with all things being equal. But energy on target, still, the 338 Lapua wins out, even though it's a much steeper trajectory. You're looking at 677 foot-pounds of energy at 2,000 yards from the 338, whereas 618 foot-pounds of energy from the 300 rum. So still the 338 Lapua wins in energy all the way out to 2,000 yards at every increment. But the 300 rum is a much flatter trajectory. So because what I'm interested in is the longer range, the extreme long range stuff, obviously to me the 300 rum is going to have more of what I'm looking for in the way of trajectory. Recoil between these two cartridges. So the 338 Lapua, even though it is leaving the muzzle slower, because you are launching a heavier bullet with almost equal charge weights, you are still, the 338 Lapua has, and it's not much. I've shot a lot of 338 Lapua. I have shot some 300 rum. The 300 rum that I have shot had a very tiny little muzzle brake on it, so compared to the 338 Lapua that I've shot that has a very effective 5-chamber brake, it's kind of hard to compare those, but just by running the numbers, you're looking at a slight bit excess recoil from the 338 Lapua compared to the 300 rum, but it would not be much. Factory ammo availability. So because the 338 Lapua has been so popularized in popular culture amongst the tactical community, it's so well known in military circles, and because it leans so much toward that tactical side because of its reputation, the 338 Lapua, you're going to find a lot more match ammo available for the 338 Lapua. Whereas the 300 rum, you're going to find much more hunting ammo available without that lean towards match accuracy. Whereas even though, as we've seen, the 300 rum actually outperforms the 338 Lapua in its trajectory. So both of these cartridges, if you're not hand loading, you're looking at spending a pretty penny. You better have deep pockets if you plan to buy factory ammo and shoot either of these cartridges with any sort of regularness. So you're looking at over $5 a shot for a lot of the match ammo in the 338 Lapua, and right at or just under $5 a shot for factory match ammo in the 300 rum. So both of them are outrageously expensive to shoot if you're not shooting factory ammo. If you're shooting factory ammo, factory rifle availability. So obviously, because the 338 Lapua has been made more towards that tactical side, the rifles that you see, there are a lot of more tactical rifles. You don't see very many hunting style rifles for the 338 Lapua, whereas the 300 rum, because it has been so popularized, it's been around, it is known for being a big bore, big game rifle. The 300 rum, you will find mostly the factory rifles you're going to find are lean towards more of the hunting side. Both these cartridges are very expensive to shoot, with the 300 rum being in a standard long action. Because of that, there are a lot more companies though that do different SKUs with the 300 rum. So this has been the full comparison. Like I said, both these excellent cartridges. I'm not trying to down the 338 Lapua. I really like the 338 Lapua. You guys have seen me do many videos shooting the 338 Lapua. Joey shooting his 338 Lapua. But if I'm going to build a new rifle for the purposes of taking it out to the full distance that I have available, I am looking towards the 300 rum. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. I know I am. So I'll see you guys next time.